Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Tom Spark. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be re-reviewing Windscribe. Now, I reviewed Windscribe just in January of this year, but it's undergone some significant changes. So I wanted to do a new review to give it more of an accurate score. So guys, the first thing we're going to be talking about, as always, is of course the pricing. And this is where Windscribe does pretty well.
Hey guys, just a reminder to check out vpntierlist.com.
If you want to help support the channel, I recommend visiting my website using Brave. It's a great browser for privacy advocates. And if you guys visit vpntierlist.com by downloading Brave and using it by going to brave.com/tom352, you can help support the channel. So once you have Brave installed and ready to go, you can check out vpntierlist.com.
It's a collection of all my ratings on the channel, and you're going to find lots of helpful information here on how to choose a VPN. Anyways, back to the video.
If you look at the pricing plan, you can see that they have a monthly plan, a yearly plan, and a builder plan. Now the monthly plan is only $9 a month, and this pretty much includes all access to everything. The yearly plan is the same thing, just a little bit better of a deal long term for only $49, which is a very good deal. And we have the builder plan as well. So with the builder plan, the way it kind of works is that you do like $1 per location, and then you have to pay another $1 if you want unlimited data. So it's around $24 a year or something like that, which is a pretty good deal. This is good for people who want one specific server. Really good for people who are wanting streaming options with just one server. It's one of the best price plans out there. And another thing about Windscribe, not that they even really put it on this page right here, I think it might be because I'm also a pro member, is that they have a very generous free model. You could get the free model of Windscribe, and some people exclusively just use the free model of Windscribe. I think around 10 gigabytes is the maximum amount of data you could use per month. But now, just like recently within the last month, Windscribe made it so even the free accounts can use streaming compatibility. So Windscribe probably is the best free VPN provider if you want to unblock geo restrictions. Not really any other VPN that is free is offering this ability. And I do think it's going to kind of clog up the system here a little bit for everyone using Windscribe. But I think since around 50% or maybe even 60% of people use the free version of Windscribe, I guess it makes sense for giving that feature to these people. Now, I'm not really sure how Windscribe is making money off these people, or if they are at all. Maybe just hoping that more people go to Pro. Maybe they're just trying to inflate the maximum amount of users they can ever have. Who's to say how they're making money from these free users and giving them all these features? But it is still limited to 10 gigabytes, and you can upgrade to the other models if you want to. Again, I've seen some free users complaining that some of the servers are getting blocked for streaming, so maybe it's not as reliable as the pro servers. Who's to say? If you do want the best product from Windscribe, you're probably going to have to go for the pro, since it includes all the servers. Alright guys, so that's pretty much it for pricing. Not bad at all. Very cool to see that they added support for streaming for the free options. Very nice addition. So guys, this is Windscribe's application. And now a lot of people had said, get out of here, Warcraft 3. I don't care about you. A lot of people are kind of being like, when is Windscribe's next UI interface going to come out? It's been kind of rumored to come out for a long time, and it does seem to look pretty cool, but it's not out yet. However, the basic program here looks pretty decent. One thing I like about Windscribe compared to some other VPN providers is that it makes it very clear on which servers you can use for streaming. So if you want to use the Japanese version of Netflix, you go to Winflix Japan. If you want to use the US version of Netflix, I think you might just be able to go to the Winflix US. So it's very easy for picking the server that you want. You can heart the server. I do like the organization of the server, and they do have a decent amount of servers to pick from. The firewall is kind of like Windscribe's kill switch, so it disables all internet connectivity if you are disconnected from the network. I guess it's just the wording there kind of confused me for a second. If you are not connected, so maybe put disconnected from the network. In terms of the settings, we have pretty good options here. One of the cool things about Windscribe is that it's one of the few VPNs that uses IPv2, although you can choose different settings like UDP, TCP, Stealth, WStunnel. So these stealth ones and Stunnel are going to be good for unblocking firewall restrictions. Sometimes VPNs can get limited by ports and different protocols. So if you're having trouble accessing Windscribe at work, school, or something like that, maybe try one of these ones. However, IPv2 is going to be good for most people. One common complaint I've seen about Windscribe a lot is that the UDP and TCP speeds for some reason aren't as good as IPv2. That's kind of up for debate, I guess, but it could be something to consider. You also have a little bit of firewall controls, some customization on how it launches, some proxy settings, which is cool as well. So it does have a decent amount of settings to configure. I also do like how you can configure the DNS, which is really nice. You could configure the API resolution as well, and the proxy support as well. So it's a pretty good application, not really missing that much overall, and very easy to use. So pretty good job here. Another cool feature from Windscribe is something called Robert. This is kind of like a customizable server-side domain and IP blocking tool. What you'll do is customize it in your account settings, and it will apply to your Windscribe VPN use. Basically what it does is create kind of like a blacklist, so you don't go to dangerous websites, and you block tracking and stuff like that. So it's kind of like some other options from VPNs that have ad blocking DNSs and stuff like that, but you could kind of configure it and customize it a little bit more, which is really neat. So right now I'm doing a speed test for Windscribe, seeing what kind of speeds it can get. Usually without VPN active, my megabits per second on this website is around 1,000. So as you can see, this is quite a big speed decrease, especially for picking a good server. We have a low ping, however, 24 ms. And upload rate is probably going to be around 40, so 33.39. Speed tests aren't everything though, so let's go ahead and do a real world torrent test to get a better indication of speeds. Alright guys, so we are connected to Windscribe's torrenting, connected to the server and torrenting with it. Normally without VPN, I could get between maybe 40 plus megabytes a second download for this. Some of my fastest VPNs get around 30 to 40 megabytes consistently. So Windscribe is kind of fluctuating between 10 to, around 25. So in all my tests, testing it in different places, I've moved a couple times, a couple different places since, around the 4 or 5 years I've been kind of checking the service out. The speeds have never been top tier. They've always just kind of been middle of the line, and that's kind of what I'm seeing right now again. Not the fastest, not the slowest, a little bit faster than average, just kind of decent. So let's go ahead and move to the next section. So on one hand, I think Windscribe has an excellent reputation. I think the company is pretty transparent. They have good policies. I agree with what they say about kind of VPNs overall. I like Yegor's Windscribe Medium post talking about 5 and 14 eyes, as well as other posts. He kind of has good transparency and understanding of the industry. However, this year especially, Windscribe has had a couple technical issues which I think have to influence the reputation score. Around 11 months ago, this actually came out that Windscribe was using what are called MICFO IPs. Now, MICFO was a company that was pretty much fraudulently obtaining IPs for cheap from a company called Aaron, which is kind of like public IPs. So this company was kind of stealing these IPs, getting them lower market value, and then selling them to other VPN providers. And this was all completely kind of illegal on their end, but the people who bought or leased the IPs from this company, they were not really held accountable because they weren't really supposed to know. However, there could be the argument that MICFO has kind of been kind of a shady company for a while, and the fact that they had such good prices for VPNs to rent from was kind of an indication that something was going on. Not only that, but most of the companies who are using MICFO IPs, stuff like NordVPN and HideMyAss, aren't necessarily that trustworthy. And it's kind of funny actually that Movad has actually been using MICFO IPs as well, which is kind of disappointing. Now, Yegor actually came out to post a response to my video where I talked about this, saying how most VPNs don't buy IPs, they lease them along with dedicated servers. The IPs were sold to other hosting companies. That's true, there were other companies as well. And MICFO is a very popular provider used by many VPNs, Windscribe included. Sure, that could be true, but again, some of my top rated VPNs weren't using MICFO IPs. And the fact that they got rid of these MICFO IPs after learning about this, that could be considered a good thing. But at the same time, it kind of says like, well, there is something wrong with using MICFO IPs. It's not like using them is okay. So they got rid of them. They kind of fixed that issue. So moving on to like kind of the next thing, I guess, would be that around 1 month ago, Windscribe kind of had some kind of issue, a 2-minute outage between 9:47, 9:49. This was around a month ago, so around March 20th or so. During this issue, people got kicked off of the service, and if they were torrenting something or something like that, their IP could have leaked. So it was just kind of like a 2-minute window, but if you're using Windscribe at that time and you were torrenting something, maybe your IP leaked to some copyright company, it's kind of a concerning issue. In one way, it's like, it's only like 2 minutes, But at the same time, so many people use Windscribe, and this could have leaked a lot of people's information, whatever they were doing at the time. Next up, just 1 day ago, Windscribe had a pretty big issue with leaking WebRTC, people's IPs through WebRTC. So what would happen is that what people would be using, it only was exclusive to Google Chrome. So people that were using Google Chrome and Windscribe's extension, their IP probably has been leaking for a number of months now. According to some poster here, he had let Windscribe know about this issue in February, but Windscribe never responded or updated the issue, so maybe they weren't taking it seriously. Maybe they've been busy due to the pandemic. Who knows why they didn't fix it, or if this guy really did let them know. It's hard to say, but the fact that they could have had a live web extension that people would use on Google Chrome leaking IPs through WebRTC is a big no-no. They should have caught this. And it's just kind of honestly pretty disappointing. Some people might be saying, hey, well, why are you using Chrome anyways? This wasn't a problem with Firefox. Now guys, finally we come to the support section for Windscribe VPN, and I'm not gonna lie, this one's a little bit weird. I would say that most VPN companies themselves are, I guess, run like public companies. They have public Twitter accounts where they kind of interact with their customers, answer questions. They have customer support lines, live chat and stuff like that, where they answer questions, give technical support. And of course, there's always email communication with the company in the background with affiliates and stuff like that, but it's all kind of behind scenes, pretty professional. Now, most VPNs don't really have Reddit presences, and the ones that do, like private internet access, for example, they're really just kind of cut and dry forums where people are posting about it, getting answers to questions, and so on and so on. They're pretty dry, just kind of for updates, inquiries about the service, VPN service. Now, Windscribe is very different. It's a different type of company, and I wouldn't really even say it's that the public relations or interaction with their community is kind of really run like a traditional public company. Even the company's emails are more jokey and meme based than kind of straightforward updates. Windscribe itself is not really professional or perhaps typical in how it runs the brand or its, I guess, public relations, you could say. I don't think anyone would ever argue that at all. It seems like every day they're arguing with some company on Twitter, getting blocked by some company, or making weird videos about vodka and exploding cactuses. Now with Windscribe, there doesn't seem to be a glass screen or a filter. The CEO and management itself are kind of just the sort of people you'd see starting arguments on Reddit, starting drama, or shit talking on Discord. In fact, the CEO himself was even involved with this kind of weird kind of YouTube series where they would buy new consoles and just smash them in front of the waiting line to just kind of piss them off and troll them. The first time I ever met Yegor himself, or I guess someone was talking about me in their Discord, and Yegor was like, hey, send me his Discord. I wanna troll Tom Spark. That was kind of the first time I met him, so it's okay. I just can't really deny that it's a little bit weird seeing the CEO of a fairly large VPN company at this point, with some 100,000 active users, maybe millions of people who have signed up to Windscribe, acting like this. And I think a large part of Windscribe's management sort of kind of gets off on the community they've built, the product they've built. And it's kind of they're winning the game per se, some sort of VPN popularity contest, I guess. But at the end of the day, Windscribe, well, let's just say it's I guess a very interactive company on Discord, Reddit, and Twitter. And the management is very outspoken and opinionated about everything. Some people like this, some people even love this. I mean, I bet there's someone out there that has a Windscribe tattoo on their ass. And if you're a Windscribe fan and you've never used another VPN, or if you only want to circle jerk how amazing Windscribe is, or if you just want to join an online cult, then you'll actually find a very supportive and active community with Windscribe. However, if you do have complaints about Windscribe, or you prefer some other VPNs over it, whether you're a viewer like me or just someone else who uses VPN, chances are you will be met with hostility, called a shill, and eventually you'll just be trolled into oblivion by other Windscribe community members and even Windscribe employees. And in terms of the actual support, well, Windscribe has a bot on their website. It's kind of useful for basic troubleshooting, but there's not that active live chat. Most of the customer support will get back to you in a couple of days, which is kind of slow by VPN standards, and especially during the holidays, I've noticed that Windscribe definitely falls off the mark. Sometimes it will take weeks to get a response from support just because they have such limited support staff, it seems like here. so I can't give the support very many points at all. So that's just kind of my thoughts on Windscribe's kind of support section slash, I guess, community. I would say I kind of have to give it a special case here because it's a little bit different, like I said, than other VPNs when it comes to interacting with the company itself and getting that customer support or just talking to the company, I guess. Lastly, we want to talk about streaming, and Windscribe is an excellent VPN for streaming. They've really stepped it up. They have really good support for pro accounts, build-a-plan accounts. You're going to be able to block pretty much anything in the world. It's almost as good as or probably as good as something like ExpressVPN with the flexibility and just paying for it and having that access to servers. The free accounts seem to have a little bit problems sometimes with connecting to servers and unblocking geo restrictions, but the fact that you're able to unblock geo restrictions with free service in the first place is quite stellar. That's my thoughts on the streaming section. Okay guys, so the final rating is here, and surprisingly it's actually the same as it was before. I've kind of shifted things around a little bit, taking into consideration various things. The pricing is going to get a 5 out of 5 because Windscribe has an excellent pricing system. The free model is pretty generous for what it is. The build-a-plan is really cool, and the yearly plan is a very good price as well. The application is very solid. It would be cool to see future WireGuard support, but I'm sure that's going to be coming someday. Speeds are a little bit better than average, but not top tier for me. I guess it kind of depends on where you are in the world. Some people get fast speeds with Windscribe, but for me, in the United States, I've never gotten top tier speeds. I prefer other faster VPNs. And in terms of reputation, well, I think the reputation definitely has taken a hit. In some ways, I kind of trust the company from, I guess, in terms of like a moral kind of perspective. I think their kind of fundamental mission is decent. They do want to protect privacy and they're not doing anything shady. However, I think the team size maybe restricts how good they are at quashing technical bugs, which have resulted in leaking IPs this year for many users. Not big deals in each circumstance, just the extension, a small little window when the service kicked people off. But they are things that did impact the reputation score. That's just me being honest. In terms of customer support, well, it's not very good. It's not very responsive. You will get an answer probably eventually, especially if you go on Reddit or try to reach out to some of them that way. I do think that the community here is a little weird. It's a little insular. It can be toxic, and that kind of influences the score a little bit there for me. But again, that's kind of up to you. Some people love Windscribe's community. A lot of people hate it. I don't really know the split would be there, but you're just going to have to kind of make your own informed opinion, and that's just mine. And in terms of streaming, well, it's pretty much perfect. It works really good with streaming, and it's probably one of the best streaming VPN providers. Anyways, guys, for my final Windscribe review, it's going to get a 3.58 out of 5, making it a pretty high-ranked Tier 2 VPN provider. That's just my thoughts, though. You're free to have your own, and if you want to dislike this video because you don't like that I presented an honest view of Windscribe, feel free to do so, and I'll see you again on the next one very soon.